Governor Ducey speaking publicly today about the pandemic for the first time in weeks.
The number of new cases being reported on the rise. 1,300 new cases announced just today. That's the highest it's been since the end of July. As we face this new surge, Arizona schools trying to keep their doors open. The Paradise Valley Unified School District pleading with parents not to let their kids attend Halloween parties this weekend. Right now, at least 3 Valley schools are closed because of coronavirus outbreaks. All of this happening while the state makes it easier for schools to meet the recommended guidelines to remain open.
Well, the governor was pressed today on why school benchmarks were changed as cases continue to rise. Several school leaders telling ABC 15 they were totally caught off guard. Our Claudia Rupsich explaining what seems to be a disconnect between state and education leaders.
Last week, ADHS quietly changed a significant part of the document schools have been using as guidance on whether to have in-person or virtual learning.
This was done, like I said, with education leaders, the superintendent of public instruction, and public health officials.
But during an interview with our news partners at KTAR, Superintendent Kathy Hoffman said at least for her, that wasn't the case.
Unfortunately, in this situation, on behalf of the Arizona Department of Education, we did not recommend or request and were not consulted on whether changes were needed to the benchmarks.
The new recommendations suggest virtual learning when all 3 benchmarks are in the red category for 2 weeks. Until this was changed, schools were advised to pull kids out of classrooms if only 1 or more of the benchmarks weren't substantial. That would have occurred faster.
Anything that's been done inside our schools has been done in coordination and cooperation with public education leaders and public health officials. And what you're referring to was actually done at their request.
Dr. Kara Chris said ADHS has been holding weekly meetings with the school's reopening work group made of local health leaders and the Department of Education.
During these conversations, our partners expressed concerns about the instability that would occur if recommendations to move back to virtual learning were based on a change in a single benchmark, especially in smaller rural counties.
A Department of Education spokesperson acknowledges staff members were in those meetings and they were alerted the change was made but had no say in the decision. Others, like the Arizona School Boards Association, Arizona Education Association, and superintendents from Mesa Public Schools and Scottsdale Unified, were also shocked by the change, learning of the change in benchmarks from our reporting and not state leadership.
I was on a call with teachers last night who they shared with me that they felt that this was putting them in harm's way, that their safety was not a priority by making this change, and that the impression our school leaders received was that they were left in the dark.
But Governor Ducey says they've been transparent.
These are guidelines, and there's always been flexibility for our parents, for our students, and for our teachers. And these guidelines were adjusted at the request of public education leaders in coordination with public health officials.
In Phoenix, Claudia Rupsich, ABC 15 Arizona.
Well,